Hello friends, Christian here with BrickLifeCrisis, and today we're taking a look at Mega Construx Call of Duty Collector Construction Set World War II Battle Pack. This set consists of 415 pieces and is recommended for ages 10 and up. It is basically a collection of minifigures with a few small builds. This is an exclusive set available only through Amazon. Of course, there are third-party sellers that will sell it on eBay and such. It's not inexpensive, but considering the number of figures that you get and how rare Mega Construx tends to be these days, I think it's not a terrible value. If we take a look at the back of the box, you can get a little bit better idea of what's included on the inside. As you can see, we have several American soldiers as well as some Germans, then all of the various accessories, and then there's a cross-sell down below with the P-51 Mustang, the landing craft, and some of the individual figures that are available. Without any further ado, however, let's go ahead and crack it open, take a look, and see what we think. I would like to point out that according to the box, there are 18 micro action figures included in this set. However, they include the dogs among those 18. So you have 8 soldiers on either side and 2 dogs, 1 on each side. So if you consider the dogs micro action figures, then there is actually 18. However, as far as humans go, there are 16. Not a big deal, just thought I'd point that out. Alright, here we have it. This is a World War II Battle Pack. This is from Mega Construx, set number FXG06. There are a ton of figures here, both American and German, as well as some accessories, a couple of little builds, and a couple of dogs. So as you can see, there are literally dozens of accessories that came with this set, and this isn't even all of them. There are still pockets and holstered pistols and various other things that are attached to the figures still. There are several backpacks, lots of rifles, a couple of pistols, all kinds of different stuff here. A couple of shovels, just all kinds of really, really neat stuff. And it's nice to have so many different possibilities. Of course, you can mix these up any way you want. Nice collection of accessories. They've also included a couple of these muzzle flash pieces. These are pretty common in the sets, but they don't always come as complete sets. So you have this little piece, which is the projectile escaping the weapon, and then we have the actual flash piece. And you can use them individually, so if you put these flash pieces on the end of the gun, it looks okay. If you put the projectile piece, that looks okay as well, but I think it really looks great when you have them both on. It makes a pretty nice muzzle flash piece. Makes for a pretty good effect, I think. There are a couple of small builds included. This is the first of those. There's some corrugated steel or something and some bricks along with a little bit of foliage, and it just allows for a little bit of cover for a figure. The box art shows it being used by the Flamethrower guy, which works out pretty nicely, I suppose. The other little build is just this little bit of an emplacement. Whoops. It's a little bit fragile, as you can see, because it's just being held on by one stud on either side with this sandbag in the middle, and then this piece of barbed wire going between the two posts kind of adds some tension, so it's a little bit fragile, but if you can be careful with it, it works out pretty well. And they suggest that this is the emplacement for the 50 cal, which can sit right back there. And speaking of the 50 cal, this is very well done. The tripod is a little bit fragile. It's built up of a bunch of little pieces, but it works fairly well. Unfortunately, this is not much of a build. The machine gun, it's really 2 pieces. There's the main part of the gun with the handles and such, and then the barrel, which comes off. There's a lot of nice detail with the cooling holes and that sort of thing. It's a dual molded piece, so that you've got some gray, gunmetal gray for the barrel, and then that dark brown for the cooling area. Then the main body of the gun is all just one piece, and then you can see right here where the tripod attaches, and then there's also this ammo box that attaches underneath with the ammo belt. But it works out really nicely. It might be a bit oversized compared to the figures, maybe just a bit. It's not dramatically oversized, but it is a bit larger than it probably should be, but we can forgive that. One very minor thing is the muzzle flash pieces don't fit on the end of that barrel, which is a little bit unfortunate. It might be cool to be able to see that going off, but very small detail, and I certainly understand why they couldn't do it. Just might have been nice to have the option. Next up we have this ammo box, and it's stamped with some shells on it. It's fairly basic. It's just a basic crate with this kind of plate to suggest a cover, and the coloring on it is nicely done. It's a dual molded blend with some of that smoky color underneath. Just adds kind of a simulated wood grain, I guess. They suggest that these potato mashers go inside there, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it shows cannon shells, but these potato mashers are cool too. They're just a little stick piece, and the little cap almost looks like a matchstick, but they do a really nice job there, and you can store them in the ammo crate if you wish, even though it's not really marked properly. And finally we have just a basic barrel. Nothing special there, but it's nice to have it included. And here we have our two hounds. These are both very well done. I like the markings, dual molded pieces. They're articulated at the hips, although not at the knees, so the legs can move, but they're a bit limited. The tail has its own articulation too. It can go up and down. The neck can go up and down, and they can turn the head at the neck. So they're fairly posable. Some nice detail all the way around. You can see those big menacing teeth. The other one is very similar. The articulation is the same, but just a little bit different breed, of course, but nicely done. I like those guys quite a bit. I would not want to have to face off against either of those guys. Alright, this is the German flame trooper. He has the big flamethrower with this flame element coming out the end, which is a really nicely done piece. It's kind of a clear, almost, it looks like a gel, but it's not. It's a piece of plastic, but they've done a nice job with that. The weapon itself is a pretty good representation of a German flamethrower. Those things were pretty long. This is probably a little bit longer than it should be, but it works out fairly well. The backpack is not quite accurate for a German flamethrower. That's more like the American, but it works very well. It's the same one that came in the flamethrower trooper pack, as well as the individual collectible figure. However, unlike the most recent one that I saw, this one actually comes with a hose, and they suggest that you attach the hose to the back of the gun here. I did not do that. I just kind of tucked it in his elbow there, because the hose itself, it's maybe tough to see on camera, but it's fairly thin in comparison to the nozzle piece here that they suggest that you connect it to. But a really cool thing that they've done, if we take that backpack off the trooper, so this is the brick-built German flamethrower, but they've also included the American flamethrower nozzle, and it actually fits on the hose fairly well there, so that if you wanted to, you could make an American flamethrower trooper, and they've given you the nozzle piece to make it appropriate. Instead of just including the German one, the American one is included as well, and I think that's a very cool inclusion. This is the German flamethrower trooper. He's got some really nice coloring with that dark tan or almost black jacket and the brown pants. The gas mask piece is really nicely done. He's got some brown backpack straps, and if you turn around the back, you can see where the flamethrower backpack attaches. His articulation is pretty much the same as the rest of the Mega Construx figures. Head's on a ball joint. You can look up and down. His helmet is removable with the T-shaped thing underneath. You can adjust the arms at the shoulder and at the elbow, as well as the wrist, and turn a bit from side to side on the waist. Actually, you could conceivably spin all the way around if you want. And at the hips, he can raise his legs about 90 degrees, and at the knee, bend about 90 degrees. And then this is one of the figures that can actually have the boots removed, which allows you to potentially switch them out with another figure's boots, so you can change up colors and customize and things a bit. Of course, all the figures in this set include a stand, which is nice. And yeah, this guy is pretty darn cool. Next up we have the German medic. He's pretty well done. He has the medic insignia on his shoulder as well as on the top of his helmet. He has this kind of pouch accessory that the instructions recommend go with him, but of course you could make that go with any figure that you like. Overall, pretty well detailed. The instructions also show him with a rifle, which I thought was interesting, but of course you can equip him or not equip him however you feel is appropriate. But pretty good figure. Again, overall I think just nicely detailed. Just some subtle print with the insignia. Otherwise, yeah, just a good basic figure. And this is the American medic. Similar to the German one, he's got the shoulder patch and some print on the helmet, although it's a little bit different in design, of course. He's got a brown shirt and some khaki pants and some backpack straps. Again, the directions show this guy with a rifle, which is kind of odd, but still, cool figure. I like him quite a bit. And next up we have this German officer wearing the overcoat. He's got some nice detailed print on the hat there with the insignia, as well as on the jacket itself with some gold buttons. Underneath he has a black shirt, and you can remove this coat. It's just kind of a rubbery material, but when you do that, he has the gray sleeves underneath. This, incidentally, is the American officer. Very similar, actually, in the sculpt. It's, I think, the same head mold, actually, the same hat piece, with a slightly different paint job, and of course in olive drab instead of the gray. And he has some backpack straps instead of the coat. You'll notice that there's a bit of gray hair on the back of this guy, suggesting that perhaps he's a bit older and maybe a little bit wiser. The German officer also has that gray hair. And next up we have this field commander guy. This is another nice hat piece with some print on the emblem up there. And he's got some backpack straps, a little bit of a sheen on his shirt. It's supposed to be a kind of a silver gray color, but it's almost a little bit metallic, which I'm not sure that I like. But other than that, it's a pretty good figure. He's got some kind of maybe reddish hair. And then on the side there where the ear is, you can see there's just a little bit of the mold or the sprue left on there. So I might trim that with an X-Acto knife or something. But basically just a secondary officer and a pretty good figure. Speaking of secondary officers, this is the American version, I guess. He has a green beret and a green jacket. Underneath he has a tan shirt. Pretty well done figure. I like that beret piece. It also is removable with the T-shape head underneath. And yeah, nice figure. On the box, incidentally, they show him as the dog handler. And here we have some German infantry. I like that they've changed it up a little bit and made some slightly different color variations and things just to make it look so that they're not all identical, you know. Backpack straps, removable helmets. This guy has a couple of ammunition bundles on the straps. Nicely done figures, and it's cool to have some variation, as I said. And here we have a couple of American GIs. Again, same thing. They've changed up the colors a bit so that you've got some variation here. These guys just have some backpack straps, removable helmets. Again, same articulation as everything else. They each have a little bit of ammunition strapped to the backpack straps, but overall, just some good basic figures. And here we have the sergeant and the machine gunner. They are also done very nicely with some variations in color. The sergeant, as you can see, has a sidearm strapped to his backpack, and then the machine gunner has some pockets on his hip. But nicely done figures, I think. This is the radio man, and he's pretty well done. Basically all green, darker skin tone, as you can see. He has the removable helmet with the T-shape, just like everybody else. But this is his radio backpack. Now, one thing that's missing from this is the antenna. Maybe it's just missing from my kit, but I don't see it on the box art either, so I don't think that's the case. There's the handset that pegs onto the side, and there is it's one of the rifle sling pieces that they use to be the telephone cord, but it's fairly well done. And yeah, he has a sidearm on his hip, but nicely done figure. And I like that radio backpack. I just wish it had an antenna to go with it. And here's another German. This one looks like a pilot. He's got some goggles and what looks like a flight helmet from the era. He's got some backpack straps. that I suppose one of the backpacks could be like a parachute. Strangely, on the box art and in the package with this guy, he included a rifle with a scope. So I'm not sure what a pilot's doing with a rifle or what a pilot is doing with the infantry, but I suppose this could be used as a pilot that ejected and now has just joined the front. But nicely done figure, just not really an infantry guy, but happy to have him nevertheless. And this guy I'm guessing is some sort of a sergeant, because he's got the heavy trench coat on, some tan pants, a black shirt underneath, a removable helmet just like all the others, and the same articulation, of course. On the back of the jacket they do give a hole so that he could conceivably have a backpack, although that might look kind of weird without any backpack straps and stuff. So anyway, not a bad looking figure, and I'm just very pleased that we finally have some Axis figures to fight against the Allies. So this set retails for $50, which is maybe a bit expensive, but considering how rare Mega Construx is these days, it's not a bad deal. Lots of accessories, lots of figures, really cool machine gun emplacement, and that flamethrower that can be used for either side. The potato mashers, I mean, it's really very cool. A little bit expensive, but I'm very happy to have this as part of my collection. Alright, that about does it for this one. This has been Christian with BrickLifeCrisis, taking a look at the Mega Construx World War II Battle Pack, consisting of 16 micro action figures and 2 dogs, or as the box says, 18 micro action figures. But very cool. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave us a like. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those below. And as always, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye for now.